My father used a forged power of attorney to steal my $400,000 inherited cabin for my brother's business. Update. He's now in prison. Hi everyone. Today's story will blow your mind, but really quick, if you enjoy this content, hit that subscribe button. Channel's been a bit quiet lately, and your support keeps it all going. Let's jump in. Original post. I, 26M, need help understanding what's happening with my grandmother's cabin. 3 days ago, I received a mortgage statement in the mail for a property I own outright. The cabin has been in my name for 2 years since my grandmother passed and left it specifically to me in her will. I've never taken out any loans against it. Let me provide some background. My grandmother raised me from age 12 after my mother passed away. My father, Robert, 57M, was present but distant, more interested in grooming my older brother Michael, 29M, to take over his construction business than dealing with his grieving younger son. Grandma's cabin in the mountains became my refuge. Every weekend, every school break, we'd drive up there together. She taught me to fish in the lake, identify birds by their calls, and find peace in nature. When Grandma got sick 2 years ago, I took leave from my job as an environmental consultant to care for her. Michael visited twice. My father came once, spent the whole time on business calls, and left early. In her final months, Grandma told me she was leaving the cabin to me because she knew I'd cherish it the way she did. The will was explicit. The cabin went to me, James, not to be shared or sold without my sole discretion. After she passed, my father and brother were furious about the will. The cabin sits on 5 acres of prime lakefront property, valued at around $400,000. Michael complained that as the eldest, he deserved the real inheritance. My father said Grandma must have been confused, that family property should stay with the head of the family. I held firm. The will was clear, legally executed, and reflected conversations Grandma and I had over many years. For 2 years, I've maintained the cabin meticulously. I've repaired the dock, updated the septic system, and even restored the original wood siding. It's been my weekend retreat and my connection to Grandma. I pay all taxes and upkeep from my salary. Now this mortgage statement shows a $200,000 loan taken out 4 months ago. The lending company, Premier Equity Partners, won't give me information over the phone because I'm not the authorized party on the loan. They directed me to their legal department, which hasn't returned my calls. I've searched online and found that somehow a quitclaim deed was filed transferring ownership to an LLC called Fraser Family Holdings. I never signed anything. The signature on the deed looks nothing like mine. This LLC then took out the mortgage. My father owns several LLCs for his construction business. The name Fraser Family Holdings sounds like something he'd create. But how could this happen without my knowledge? The cabin's deed was in my name alone. I have all the original paperwork from the estate settlement locked in my safe. I'm supposed to drive up to the cabin this weekend for my monthly maintenance check. Part of me is terrified of what I'll find. Has someone been using it without my knowledge? Are there other liens I don't know about? I've already scheduled consultations with 2 real estate attorneys for next week, but I'm looking for any immediate advice. What are my rights here? How could someone mortgage property I own without my signature? What should I document when I visit the cabin? This feels like a nightmare. That cabin isn't just property to me, it's my grandmother's legacy, my sanctuary, and my last tangible connection to the woman who raised me. The thought of losing it to some fraudulent scheme makes me physically ill. Any guidance would be appreciated. I'm in Colorado if that matters for legal specifics. Update 1, 2 weeks later. I wanted to update everyone who offered advice on my original post. The situation has exploded in ways I never imagined. First, thank you to everyone who told me to document everything and file a police report immediately. I did both, though the police said it would be investigated as a civil matter unless I could prove criminal intent. I drove to the cabin that weekend with my friend Brandon as a witness. The locks had been changed. There was a new security system installed. Through the windows, I could see construction materials stacked in the living room, blueprints on the table, contractor equipment everywhere. My grandmother's handmade quilts were piled carelessly in a corner. While we were there, a contractor arrived. He said he was hired by the owner to assess the property for conversion into a luxury vacation rental. He showed me work orders signed by Michael Fraser, my brother. The plans included gutting the interior, adding 2 more bedrooms, and installing a hot tub on the deck where Grandma and I used to watch sunsets. I called my father demanding answers. He finally agreed to meet at his office Monday morning. Brandon came with me as a witness. The conversation was surreal. My father sat behind his massive desk, completely calm, and explained everything as if he were discussing a routine business transaction. "James," he said, You need to understand the bigger picture. That cabin was being wasted as your personal hideaway. Michael had an opportunity to create something magnificent, Fraser Luxury Retreats. The vacation rental market is exploding. That property could generate $100,000 annually. I asked how he accessed my property without my permission. He smiled, actually smiled, and pulled out a folder. You gave me power of attorney 3 years ago when you had that skiing accident, remember? You were having surgery and needed someone to handle your affairs. I did remember. I'd been in the hospital for emergency appendectomy, not a skiing accident, but I had signed a temporary power of attorney for medical decisions. He showed me the document, except it wasn't temporary, and it wasn't limited to medical decisions. It was a broad, durable power of attorney. The signature looked like mine, but I would never have signed something so comprehensive. Even if this were real, I said, power of attorney doesn't give you the right to steal property. Steal? He looked offended. I invested in our family's future. The mortgage funds went directly into Michael's business account. Once Fraser Luxury Retreats is profitable, we'll pay off the mortgage and split the profits. The cabin stays in the family, generates income, everyone wins. I explained that the cabin was my inheritance, not family property. He waved his hand dismissively. Your grandmother was my mother. That property came from my family. You were just holding it temporarily. Besides, the deed transfer is done. Fraser Family Holdings LLC owns the cabin now, and Michael and I are the principals of that LLC. My brother arrived then, striding in like he owned the world. Jim, he said cheerfully, Dad told me you were upset about the cabin. Look, I get it. Change is hard. But you have to think like a businessman. That cabin is worth 10 times more as a rental property than as your personal fishing shack. He pulled out his phone and showed me his business plan. Professional website, architectural renderings, projected revenue streams. He'd already spent $50,000 of the mortgage funds on permits, contractors, and marketing. Another $100,000 was allocated for renovations. The rest, he admitted when pressed, went toward operational expenses, including a new truck for the business and his salary as CEO. Your salary? I was incredulous. You're paying yourself with money stolen from my property? It's not stolen, Michael insisted. It's leveraged. Big difference. In 2 years, this business will be worth millions. Your little cabin will be the flagship property of a luxury resort empire. You should be thanking us. I informed them both that I'd already filed a police report and would be pursuing legal action. My father's face darkened. That's a mistake, James. Family doesn't sue family. Your grandmother would be ashamed. Grandma would be ashamed of what you've done to her cabin, I shot back. Michael laughed. Grandma's dead, Jim. The living have to make practical decisions. If you fight this, you'll spend tens of thousands on lawyers and still lose. The deed transfer is legal. The LLC owns the property. Just accept it and maybe we'll cut you in for a percentage. I left without another word. Brandon, who'd been recording the entire conversation on his phone, legal in our state, was shaking with anger on my behalf. My attorney, Catherine Chen, reviewed everything and confirmed my worst fears. While the power of attorney was likely forged or obtained through fraud, proving it would be difficult. The deed transfer had been filed with all proper paperwork. On paper, it looked legitimate. The mortgage company had no liability. They'd loaned money to the legal owner of record. Your father knew exactly what he was doing, she said. This was carefully planned to create maximum legal confusion. We can fight it, but it will be expensive and time-consuming. I authorized her to begin proceedings immediately. The first step was filing an emergency injunction to stop any renovations on the cabin. We also filed to freeze the LLC's assets and demanded a full accounting of the mortgage funds. My father responded by hiring Thomas Ashford, known as the most ruthless corporate attorney in Denver. My brother posted on Facebook about his exciting new business venture with photos of himself at the cabin, calling it the future home of Fraser Luxury Retreats. That's where things stand now. I've spent $5,000 on legal fees already with no end in sight. My father called last night to offer me $50,000 to walk away and preserve family harmony. When I refused, he said I was being selfish and short-sighted. This is why Grandma really left you that cabin, he said before hanging up. She knew you'd never amount to anything more than a caretaker. I'm documenting everything and pushing forward with legal action. Several contractors have reached out after hearing about the situation, sharing stories of Michael's previous failed business ventures and unpaid debts. Apparently, Fraser Luxury Retreats isn't his first grand scheme. Just the first one funded by stealing family property. I'll update again when there's more to report. Thank you to everyone who's offered support and advice. It helps knowing I'm not crazy for fighting this. Update 2, 1 month later. The injunction hearing was yesterday. I need to share what happened because I'm still processing it myself. Catherine had prepared meticulously. We had affidavits from 3 handwriting experts stating the power of attorney signature was likely forged. We had testimony from the notary who supposedly witnessed it. She'd been out of the country on the document's date. We had a clear paper trail showing the LLC was created just days before the deed transfer. My father's attorney, Ashford, didn't dispute any of this. Instead, he presented a different narrative entirely. According to their version, I had verbally agreed to let Michael use the cabin for his business. The power of attorney was a technical formality to expedite paperwork I'd already approved. The mortgage was discussed at a family dinner I supposedly attended but mysteriously had no record of. Then they played their trump card. Michael testified that I'd been struggling financially and approached him about monetizing the cabin. He presented text messages between us from last year where I'd mentioned being tight on money after paying for car repairs. His interpretation: I was desperate and begging for help. My brother came to me in tears, Michael told the judge, somehow managing to look sincere. He couldn't afford the cabin's upkeep but couldn't bear to sell Grandma's place. I offered to help by turning it into an income-generating property. He was grateful, called it a lifeline. It was all lies, but he sold it well. The judge, Henry Patterson, seemed sympathetic to the family helping family narrative. He granted a partial injunction, no structural changes to the cabin pending trial, but cosmetic improvements could continue. The LLC retained possession. Outside the courthouse, my father approached me. End this now, James. Take the buyout. $50,000 is more than fair for property you've barely used. I use it every weekend, I said. For what? Sitting alone and mourning someone who's been dead 2 years? Your grandmother left you that cabin, but she didn't mean for you to become a hermit. We're offering you freedom. Michael joined us, still playing the concerned brother. Jim, think about it. You're spending everything on lawyers. Even if you win, what then? You'll have a cabin and no family. Is that what Grandma would want? Catherine pulled me away before I could respond. In her office, she laid out the reality. The judge seemed inclined to view this as a family dispute rather than fraud. Trial could take months. Legal fees would likely exceed $50,000. Even if we won, collecting damages from an LLC with no assets would be nearly impossible. They've structured this brilliantly, she admitted. Your father has deep pockets for legal fees. They can drag this out until you're bankrupt. That night, I sat in my apartment staring at photos from the cabin. Grandma teaching me to tie fishing flies. My high school graduation party on the deck. The last Christmas we spent there, just 2 months before she got sick. In every photo, the cabin stood solid and welcoming, our sanctuary from the world. I made a decision. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd play smart. I started with research. Colorado business records showed Michael had created and dissolved 4 LLCs in the past 5 years. Each followed a pattern: grand promises, investor money collected, minimal delivery, quiet dissolution. I found 3 former business partners willing to speak on record about their experiences. Next, I investigated the mortgage. Premier Equity Partners wasn't a traditional bank but a hard money lender charging 18% interest. The terms were predatory: balloon payment due in 18 months, hefty penalties for late payments. Michael had clearly been desperate for quick cash. I also discovered something interesting about Fraser Luxury Retreats marketing. They'd already pre-sold vacation packages for the summer, advertising amenities the cabin couldn't possibly provide: multiple bedrooms, hot tubs, commercial kitchen. They'd collected $30,000 in deposits for bookings starting in June. Catherine's investigator found more. The $200,000 mortgage proceeds had been spent rapidly. $50,000 to contractors who'd done minimal work. $30,000 for a truck registered to Michael personally. $40,000 in consulting fees to another LLC owned by my father. Only $20,000 remained in the Fraser Luxury Retreats account. We amended our lawsuit to include fraud charges. We also contacted everyone who'd pre-booked vacation packages, informing them of the legal dispute and suggesting they request refunds. The response was immediate. My father called, furious. You're destroying your brother's business before it even starts. Those vacation deposits are contractual obligations. If people cancel, he'll be ruined. Then maybe he shouldn't have sold vacation packages for a property he doesn't legally own, I replied. Michael's Facebook posts turned nasty. He called me jealous, spiteful, claimed I'd always resented his success. He posted old family photos with captions about how I'd isolated myself from the family after Grandma's death, how they tried to include me but I'd refused. Some mutual friends reached out, having seen the posts. I shared the real story. Word spread. Soon, Michael's business Facebook page was flooded with warnings about the legal dispute. Several vacation package buyers publicly demanded refunds. Then Brandon, who works in IT, made a discovery. The Fraser Family Holdings LLC website had a hidden investors page. Michael had been soliciting investments for his luxury retreat empire, promising 20% returns. He'd raised another $100,000 from 6 investors, using the cabin as collateral he didn't actually own. This changed everything. Investment fraud crossed into criminal territory. Catherine contacted the Colorado Attorney General's office. Within a week, both the AG and the FBI's white-collar crime unit opened investigations. My father tried one more meeting. This time, he came alone to my apartment. "You've made your point," he said, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Michael made mistakes. But he's your brother. This criminal investigation could ruin his life." "He ruined his own life by stealing from me and defrauding investors," I said. "I'll make it right," he offered. "Full market value for the cabin. $400,000. Cash. You can buy another property, start fresh. Just drop the criminal complaints. It's not about money. It's about Grandma's cabin. The one she left to me. The one you had no right to touch." He stood to leave, then turned back. "Your grandmother spoiled you. Filled your head with sentiment instead of sense. That cabin is just wood and stone, James. Family is what matters." "You're right," I said. "Family does matter. Which is why I can't believe you'd steal from your own son." As I write this update, the criminal investigation is ongoing. The mortgage payment was due last week. Naturally, Michael didn't pay it. Premier Equity Partners has started foreclosure proceedings. My attorney filed to have the fraudulent deed transfer reversed, which would make their mortgage invalid. It's been exhausting and expensive, but I'm not backing down. This isn't just about a cabin anymore. It's about standing up to people who believe family bonds are a license to steal. I'll update again when there's significant progress. Thank you to everyone who's supported me through this. Your encouragement keeps me going. Update 3, 6 weeks later. I'm writing this from the cabin. My cabin. Legally, officially, and irrevocably mine again. But the victory came at a price I'm still calculating. The criminal investigation accelerated everything. When FBI agents showed up at my father's construction company with warrants, his carefully maintained image crumbled. They seized computers, financial records, and files relating to multiple LLCs. What they found went beyond my cabin, a pattern of using forged documents and fraudulent transfers dating back years. Michael was arrested 2 weeks ago on charges of wire fraud, investment fraud, and identity theft. His mugshot made the local news. Local businessman charged in family property scheme. The article detailed how he defrauded investors and stolen his brother's inherited property. His business reputation, what little existed, evaporated overnight. The investors in Fraser Luxury Retreats filed civil suits. The vacation package buyers demanded refunds Michael couldn't pay. Premier Equity Partners, realizing their mortgage was based on fraudulent documents, agreed to void the loan in exchange for my dropping any claims against them. During Michael's bail hearing, the prosecutor revealed something that shocked even me. The $100,000 from investors? He'd told them he owned multiple properties that would be converted to rentals. He'd shown them forged deeds for not just my cabin, but 2 properties belonging to our cousins in Wyoming. The FBI was investigating whether our father knew about or participated in the broader scheme. My father hired separate counsel and distanced himself from Michael immediately. He claimed he'd been manipulated, that Michael had forged his signature on LLC documents too. The investigators seemed skeptical but focused their energy on Michael as the primary perpetrator. Then came the meeting that changed everything. My father asked me to come to his house, the home where I'd grown up but rarely visited after moving in with Grandma. He looked diminished, sitting in his study surrounded by photos of better times. "I need you to understand something," he began. "When your mother died, I didn't know how to handle you. You were so angry, so hurt. Your grandmother offered to take you, and I let her because I didn't know what else to do. So you focused on Michael instead," I said. "Michael was easier. He wanted what I could teach: business, ambition, success. You wanted emotional things I didn't know how to give. Your grandmother did. I told myself it was better for everyone. He pulled out a folder, the real power of attorney I'd signed 3 years ago. Limited, medical only, expired after 30 days. I never used this, he said. The one Michael submitted was forged. I found out after the deed transfer was done. He came to me desperate, said he'd already taken investor money and needed collateral fast. He promised it was temporary, that you'd never know. And you let him, I stated. I told myself it would work out. Michael's schemes always sounded brilliant in the moment. And part of me... He paused, looking out the window. Part of me resented that cabin. My mother left her most valuable asset to you. Not to me, her son, or Michael, her oldest grandson. To you. It felt like judgment from beyond the grave. It was love, I said simply. She left it to me because she knew I'd cherish it. I know that now. He slid another document across the desk. This transfers my ownership in Fraser Family Holdings LLC to you, along with any claims to the cabin. I'm also prepared to testify about Michael's forgery and fraud. My attorney says it will likely mean charges against me for accessory after the fact, but you deserve the truth on record. I stared at the document. Why now? Because I've lost everything else. My reputation is destroyed. My business partners are distancing themselves. Michael faces years in prison. The only thing I might salvage is a relationship with the son I pushed away. I signed the papers but told him I needed time before discussing any relationship. He nodded, looking older than his 57 years. Michael's attorney pursued a plea deal. 18 months in minimum security, 5 years probation, full restitution to investors. The cabin's deed was officially transferred back to me free and clear. All liens removed, all claims voided. Last weekend, I returned to the cabin for the first time since this began. The contractors had started work but hadn't gotten far. Holes in walls where they'd planned expansions. Grandma's furniture pushed aside but undamaged. Her quilts, thankfully, were just dusty but intact. I spent 3 days cleaning, repairing what I could, and restoring the cabin to how Grandma kept it. While organizing the loft, I found a letter she'd written but never sent, dated a month before her death. My dear James, if you're reading this, you're probably in the cabin, maybe wondering why I left it to you alone. The truth is simple. You're the only one who ever saw it as more than property. Your father sees assets. Michael sees opportunities. You see memories and meaning. This cabin has been my sanctuary for 40 years. It's where I healed after your grandfather died, where I found peace when life felt chaotic. It's where you and I built our own little family after loss tried to break us both. Keep it or sell it, that's your choice. But know that every beam and board holds love. Every sunset from that deck is a gift. Every morning coffee on the porch is a chance to start fresh. Be patient with your father and brother. They measure success differently than we do. That doesn't make them bad people, just people who haven't learned what really matters yet. Oh my love, Grandma. I cried reading it. Then I made coffee and sat on the porch, watching the sunrise over the lake. The legal bills totaled $47,000. My savings are depleted, my family is shattered, and my brother's in prison. But the cabin is mine, legally and completely. More importantly, I stood up for what mattered instead of taking the easy money. I've started a small business myself, weekend fishing guides and nature photography workshops based at the cabin. It won't make me rich, but it honors what Grandma and I built there. Several of Michael's defrauded investors, surprisingly, have become clients. They respect someone who fights for what's right. My father has reached out tentatively. Coffee occasionally, small talk about safe topics. We're not close, may never be, but we're trying. He's handling Michael's legal bills and restitution payments, which will drain most of his retirement savings. He calls it penance. Michael writes from prison sometimes. No apologies, just complaints about conditions and requests for commissary money. I don't respond. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. But sitting here now, watching the sun set over the lake from Grandma's deck, I feel something I haven't in months, peace. The cabin is more than intact. It's home. The family I lost was never really mine anyway. The family I choose, friends like Brandon who stood by me, Catherine who fought for me, and the memory of a grandmother who loved me unconditionally, that's what matters. To anyone facing similar family betrayal, document everything, lawyer up immediately, and don't let emotional manipulation deter you from protecting what's yours. Family doesn't give anyone the right to steal from you. And sometimes, the best family is the one you build yourself, not the one you're born into. The cabin is quiet tonight except for loons calling across the water. Grandma would say that's the sound of everything being exactly as it should be. I'm starting to believe she's right. Final update, 3 months later. This will be my last update on this situation. I'm writing it from the cabin's deck on a perfect September morning, coffee in hand, watching mist rise off the lake. Life has settled into a new rhythm, and it's time to close this chapter. The criminal cases concluded last month. Michael received 2 years in state prison after violating his plea deal by attempting to hide assets. During a routine audit, investigators discovered he'd transferred $30,000 to a friend's account days before his arrest. The judge, already frustrated by Michael's lack of remorse, revoked the original deal and imposed a harsher sentence. My father pled guilty to accessory charges and received 6 months house arrest plus 2 years probation. His construction company, once valued at $3 million, sold for barely enough to cover Michael's restitution obligations. He's living in a small apartment now, working as a consultant for his former competitors. The last time we met for coffee, he seemed almost relieved. I spent 40 years building an empire for Michael to inherit, he said. Never occurred to me I was building a prison. Maybe starting over at 58 isn't the worst thing. The real surprise came from an unexpected source. 3 weeks ago, I received a call from Eleanor Hartwell, one of Michael's defrauded investors. She'd been following the case and had a proposition. Her late husband had left her a chain of outdoor equipment stores. She wanted to expand into guided experiences and workshops. Would I consider partnering? We met at the cabin. Eleanor, a sharp 64-year-old former teacher, walked the property with the same reverence Grandma once showed. "This place has good bones," she said, running her hand along the deck railing. "More importantly, it has a good story. People crave authentic experiences, places with meaning. Your grandmother's cabin could anchor something special." Her proposal was elegant. She'd invest in building small, eco-friendly guest cabins on the far edge of the property, leaving the main cabin untouched. I'd run workshops, fishing, photography, nature writing. We'd split profits 50-50ths. The main cabin would remain my private residence, preserved exactly as Grandma kept it. I thought about it for a week, walking the property, imagining the possibilities. In the end, Grandma's letter decided it. Every morning coffee on the porch is a chance to start fresh. We signed papers yesterday. Fraser Nature Retreats, yes, I kept part of the name, irony has its place, will open next spring. We already have bookings from photographers wanting to capture sunrise over the lake, families seeking digital detox weekends, and writers looking for inspiration in the mountains. The guest cabins will be simple, sustainable structures named after local birds, loon, osprey, eagle. Each will have a journal where guests can record their experiences. The main cabin will host evening gatherings, stories around the fireplace, lessons in fly tying, discussions about conservation and connection to nature. My father attended the contract signing. As Eleanor and I shook hands, he pulled me aside. "Your grandmother would be proud," he said quietly. "You're building something that matters, not just something that profits." It was the closest to an apology I'd ever get. I accepted it. Brandon, who stood by me through everything, will lead our hiking workshops. Catherine, my attorney-turned-friend, plans to host legal ethics retreats for law students, using our case as a study in family law and fraud. Even some of Michael's other victims have expressed interest in visiting, finding healing in the place that nearly became a symbol of their loss. I've exchanged a few letters with Michael. He's angry about the business name, claims I'm profiting from his idea. I reminded him that his idea was luxury rentals that destroyed the cabin's character. Mine is sharing Grandma's philosophy of simple connection with nature. He hasn't written back. Last week, while preparing for construction, I found a time capsule Grandma and I buried when I was 14. Inside were photos, a pine cone from our first hike, and a note in my teenage handwriting, "This place will always be home." I reburied it, adding my own items, the fraudulent deed, voided and stamped, cancelled, a photo of Grandma on the deck, and a new note, "Home isn't just a place you inherit. It's a place you fight for, preserve, and share with purpose." The investigation revealed my case wasn't unique. Across the country, family property theft is rising as real estate values soar. My story, published in several legal journals, has helped other victims recognize the signs and take action sooner. Catherine has started a pro bono clinic for family fraud victims. Small victories from large pain. To those who followed this journey, thank you. Your support during the darkest moments reminded me that standing up for what's right resonates beyond personal victory. Every message from someone facing similar betrayal who found courage in my story makes the financial and emotional cost worthwhile. The sun is higher now, burning off the morning mist. A bald eagle circles overhead, the same one, I think, that Grandma and I used to watch. In 6 months, strangers will sit on this deck, experiencing their own moments of peace and clarity. But they'll know the story of this place, how it was nearly lost to greed and reclaimed through perseverance. Grandma's cabin remains exactly as she left it, just as I promised. But its purpose has evolved. Instead of a private sanctuary for one grieving grandson, it's becoming a place where many can find what Grandma helped me discover: that healing happens in nature, that simplicity has value, and that some things are worth fighting for. Michael will be released in 18 months. My father is rebuilding his life one consultation at a time. I'm running a business I never imagined but feels absolutely right. We're all exactly where we need to be, even if the path here was brutal. The coffee's gone cold, but the morning's too perfect to go inside just yet. Grandma always said the best inheritance wasn't money or property but knowing who you are and what you stand for. She was right about that, like she was right about everything else. This cabin is my home. These mountains are my church. This life, hard-won and purposeful, is my grandmother's true legacy. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything.